Alright, it's night 16 of Gothtober 2021. We are still trying to finish the letter. The super long visual novel horror game. And played about, 12 hours of this game? 12, 13 hours? It's pretty long, and I think we are... Okay, right now we're playing as Marianne. So we have completed 3 characters. I'm on the 4th character right now. And then we have 3 more characters after Marianne. So we're halfway in. All right. So do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent. Okay, did we actually even hear her say this?
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
Okay. That's a little too loud.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. She has the same picture. I mean... So I guess that must be like just generic art. Picture of a person in a red tie. Because that picture is actually also in Marianne's apartment. I thought maybe that was her... the her that she was referring to, like maybe like a really butch a really butch woman wearing a suit, because I'm still trying to figure this out, whether she's really a lesbian, if she's really interested in a female love partner from Ireland. I guess it was like a one-sided relationship. She never said anything to that person, but then she's having sex with men, well, quote unquote men, because the last person she slept with was Luke, and Luke is not necessarily the manliest person ever. So, but it seems like this is just a generic picture. So, I don't know. Maybe this person is so popular that everybody has a picture of this person with them. It's just funny. Seeing the girl, the young woman though, it looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? So what did she say? I already brought 2 mugs. So do you want coffee? So she showed her the map, and then Marianne made a comment that the map seems smaller than the actual thing. What is this situation about bringing 2 mugs? So she already started carrying 2 mugs with her, and she's saying, I'm gonna get us coffee? But if you don't want coffee, you don't want coffee, you know? But I'm confused though, so you have something to say? I give her time to speak up. Okay, so that's gonna be a plus. Yep. But when she just stares, I clear my throat. See?
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. So she already brought the coffee to her. What's going on here? It is so confusing. So do you want coffee? Do you want a coffee? And then all of a sudden she has coffee already. And then they were just talking. Maybe while she was looking down at the map, Isabella left her alone and she was just talking to herself. But yeah, it's just weird. I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such a question from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt then why she was assigned to an important sale like the avant-garde mansion, despite the little accident she had. Now she looks too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. Why, watching her now, she actually looks like she should still be in college. Acts a bit like it too, when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property. I don't even know what to make of that whole meltdown that happened with that strange document. If I were the client, I would have been very upset. Should be in hot water for it.
Clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek, and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. It makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it is understandable, if her reason's what I think it is, very few people make it big in the art world. I can see why she'd be upset about it with that enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took in the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being at art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place, and the sooner she accepts it, the better. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not? Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid. Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. Marianne visited BRC to pick up the floor plans. She was assisted by Isabella Santos, and the two shared a brief talk about art, which ended with Marianne leaving a piece of advice to Isabella. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It is clear there's more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself and her choices in life. Or is she expecting me to dish out more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the realty office as quickly as I can. Though I am able to keep myself professional at all times, it does not mean I like it, and seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realized it, I choose to head back to my flat instead, despite today being a Saturday. No fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter, considering how much I'll be seeing a whiskey in the near foreseeable future. I have a feeling I'll need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Monday couldn't have come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes up the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm saved from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card, not only because of building management, but because of the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime and not visiting a client at their home, even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence. The process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil, the elevator door opens, and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting. But I'm here now, and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in the living room just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast, like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I am normally not this nosy. What should I do then? If I hear a noise, it's someone else's place. Well, you just don't want to just sit there. It could be something dangerous. We'll check it out. The crash came from the hallway, and I really shouldn't be snooping about. But it's just concern, yeah. Concern that urges me to check it out. Sneaking a glance at the butler, I consider sneaking off, but...
Excuse me, but where's the loo?
He barely looks my way before pointing a spatula towards the hallway. It's a good excuse as any. And if I'm caught lingering longer than I should, I could just excuse myself and say that I wasn't sure which door lead to where. Oh god. Okay, now I'm regretting the fact that I decided to check out the crash. Still, looking into the hallway reveals nothing. I don't see anything that might have caused the crash. The hallway. Why is it so dark? Like the rest of the place is in pristine condition. There are several doors for not only the toilet but also, presumably, rooms for the butler and for other members of the staff. As I stand there, however, something feels definitely out of place. One of the doors nearest within my reach stands ajar, and from inside a light flickers incessantly. It could simply be a light bulb that needs replacing, but the thought of it in a place so well taken care of seems off. I think that maybe this is where the crash came from. Inside, I can spy a radio lying on the floor. That's probably it, right? Maybe wanted to help in a hurry to get out of the room, knocked over it in the process. If that's all it is, I really should leave it alone. As I turn to leave, the sound of static fills the air and a man's tinny voice interrupts the silence.
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead.
Why am I still standing here?
Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
This seems familiar, doesn't it?
Authorities are investigating the possibility of foul play.
Like I've heard it before.
Reporting from St. Samphins, Shane McLaughlin of Galway, AM.
Oh my god! I recall backing away from whatever that was. I closed my eyes though because I knew there was something coming. Oh my god, let me see. I'm gonna look at the footage. How bad the... oh my god, yeah, I would have died. That was a horrible jump scare. Oh, it's pretty nasty. Just gonna look at it again. Nasty. So nasty. I recoil, backing away from whatever that was. In the process, I trip backwards on my feet and I wait for the pain of falling flat on my back. But instead, I feel a hand on my back and seeing the smug smile of, well, guess who?
Oh, don't tell me you're reporting to work drunk, Mint.
Of course, I know exactly who that voice belongs to. It just have to be him.
Marianne McCullough, hammered on the job? That would be something.
But, as if I had been burned, I push him away from me with a deep scowl on my face. Even his slightest touch makes me sick. And that smug smile on his face makes me want to come in contact with him, if only to break his nose with my fist.
Is that any way to say hello to a good friend?
We aren't friends. Let's get that straight first off, Mr. Wright. Secondly, you're a married man, so that thing that happened shouldn't have happened.
Oh, come on, don't tell me it wasn't even a little fun. A bit of a romp never hurt anybody.
No, it wasn't fun, and we shouldn't have done it.
Marianne visited the Wright's penthouse to discuss work with the couple. While waiting for them, Marianne decided to investigate a violent crash she heard in the hallway hallway. There was something odd.
But since we did, let's pretend it didn't happen and never speak of it again.
I was drunk and had no self-control. Don't I get a free pass?
I really can't believe this guy. The thing is, she can't blame him. I mean, she was interested. They were both, like, drunk, and they were both horny, so... I have work to do, sir. I want nothing more than to punch the fucker that show him what for, but I have to remind myself to stay calm. Is a plus. Oh wow. No matter what I feel for this man, no matter how much I want to cuss him out and spew every profanity in the book and then some, he is still my client. I don't imagine that knocking the block off one of the more influential persons of high society would go well with the rest of my usual clientele.
It doesn't matter. I have work to do. I'm here to do my job. And if Whiskey has any ounce of sense in him, he'll know not to bring up this matter.
He must have some sense, right?
Or else what? I can't take that statement seriously without one of those.
Apparently not.
Whiskey will know not to bring the matter up, or else he'll get what's coming to him.
No, still not convinced. You tried, I suppose. Plus points for that.
The dead air between us, because it can't be anything else but that, is broken as a lively voice calls out from the loft. A very spooked Marianne accidentally bumped into Luke Wright, furious over his blatant dishonesty during their first encounter. She warned him not to mention what happened that night. Luke simply ignored her.
Marianne! I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long. I know we agreed we'd start at 10 o'clock, but mornings just simply do not agree with me. Not one bit. It's been like this since I've been in university.
It's 5 minutes to 11 o'clock. These high-end clients sure like to be fashionably late. I'm used to it though, much like how I'm used to so many years of hearing people mispronounce my name. Besides, berating or correcting my client would be extremely impolite, and Marianne doesn't sound too bad when she says it. What's her name? Her name is Marianne, isn't it? Marianne. Mary Ann? I guess she's saying Mary Ann or something? Mary Ann.
I haven't kept you waiting too long.
Weird. To be fair, it doesn't seem like she's late on purpose.
I see you're up, darling. You know, you could have woken me up as well. Were you showing Marianne around? Not that there's much to see. This place is so tiny compared to the mansion.
I'm more worried about the way she stares at me, judging. Such a look. It doesn't suit her pretty face at all. Just seeing Mrs. Wright reminds me too much of her. And maybe I'm starting to hear her again, see her again when I shouldn't. So this her maybe is not a love interest, but like a friend who died in college, that maybe she was responsible in her death or something. Because of the whole radio situation earlier. I should have left it all behind, forgotten it. To think she would be looking at me that way, I can just feel my hands tremble.
Oh yes, just showing her around and getting to know each other. Isn't that right, Marianne?
Yes, of course. And your butler was making breakfast a while ago. So if you want to get right to that...
Breakfast would be lovely.
There's no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. Oh my god. 6 stacks of pancakes? Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. Oh god. No, there's no way you can eat 6 stacks of pancakes. 3 maybe. 6? No. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar. Hey Leon, that looks delicious. How are you?
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs, and whatever handles those sets of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely.
Give me more money and give me more dick.
I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blended with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the first time or place for it, however. Instead, I used this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Quarters?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts.
Second bedroom? Next to the master's bedroom, there's a hallway. Quarters, it says. That would have been my game. Oh my god, there's a theater? I guess that would be my game room.
Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johan's in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theatre. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it.
Nice.
Not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea.
You can lock the door.
By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Where's the kitchen? Oh, the kitchen is on the left side.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
Northwest. Another quarters?
That's sleeping quarters for the household help.
Oh, that is perfect! New Orleans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms! I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theatre, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Well... You're getting the office, the theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables? That's quite a bit. Yes, it sounds fair. Mrs. Rice has her points, though I really didn't want to butt into the spat over husband and wife. But the way the two were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep to the facts instead of giving an opinion.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough cost of these things by now, love. Masters in business administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really doesn't seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Lux upon you, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Riding to Armorguard Mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. The mansion's arrangements were discussed over breakfast. During the meeting, the Wright couple had an argument about the mansion's arrangements. In the end, they decided a visit will settle it. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other anytime. Nobody is saying anything, up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead, he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the sufferable silence stays. I have never been so close, so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand, and I can already hear Mr. Wright plotting.
Alright here, Hans, we're going to go in. But I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving the car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday, I'd like to ask how Johannes can even stand and tolerate the man. It's called money. Why doesn't he just quit? Suddenly the pay can't be that good. Oh yeah, it is. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from bailing is the fact that we already signed a contract. At least I'll only be working with him during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday I'd ask. I feel a bit bad for him. Why? He's getting paid well. If it's any consolation, he'll be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There had been a bit of a problem with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seems sturdy during the open house, but a closer inspection might say otherwise. There are obvious marks of damage. There are no obvious marks of damage. No wear and tear, probably threaded during the renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is probably installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum though. Structural conditions, from what I can see without actually dismantling the thing, look to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much into the rest of the foyer, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand again.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there's a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone were to see them like this, there's little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers, really. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find out that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to do a thorough inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of an interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. But when it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. I'm not going upstairs alone, so I already saw something creepy at their fucking apartment, so let's check the ground floor. Alright, just because there's one troublesome client shouldn't mean I'll let him get in the way of my work. The parlor is my first destination. Mostly because I figure Mr. Wright is hiding down in the wine cellar and making plans there. I'm going to bump into him sooner or later, but I'd rather make it later. Much, much later. The place, upon closer inspection, is in good shape. I don't doubt the place was done with the most care, considering it would be one of the first rooms visitors would see during the open house. There's a stain on the carpet, most likely by one of the guests at the time, but it isn't anything a good cleaning can't get rid of. Next is the music room, or at least that's the plan.
Locked? Oh, come on now.
I rattled the doorknob again, harder this time, to double check, and even give it a good budge to see if it isn't a problem with the door itself. But no, definitely locked. Oh, I didn't even notice that the clock there on the wall is actually moving. That is weird, considering the rest of the rooms aren't. It could just be this one, though. And I can try the other door through the ballroom if I really want to get in. And that's when I hear it. The sound of a piano. Though it just plays one note, over and over again. It makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand, and I back away from the door. Though I wasn't exactly the superstitious sort, what am I going to do? The room is locked. I can just go back to it later, maybe see if I can go through the ballroom, and the music room door opens, and who else but Luke stands by the doorway. He looks a lot like a cat that ate a canary. And I didn't appreciate the way his eyes linger on me.
Isn't it common sense that locked doors mean someone wants a bit of privacy? You needn't try to break the door down. Or did you just want to see me again that badly without the misses? I'm still up for a shag if that's what you're after. Pretty sure the wine cellar is soundproof if you fancy a snog and a poke.
I'm here on business, Mr. Wright. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, if you can let me pass, I need to inspect the music room as well.
I'm not looking for trouble, but trouble always seems to find me anyway. He leans against the doorframe, crosses his arms, and plasters a huge grin on his face. The way he looked at me promises nothing good. But really, how big of a scumbag can one person be?
Oh, sure, you're some fancy interior designer. But mix in some booze and you really loosen up, don't you? Working woman by day, working girl by night.
I'm not. I'm no such thing. Don't you fucking dare continue down that line of thought. I'm not what you suggest I am. I am not some whore you can just leer at and proposition. If anybody here is morally reprehensible, it's you cheating on your wife. And if you don't stop this harassment, I'll...
Tell the wife? Good luck with that.
You're terribly confident for a lecherous cheat.
Do you honestly think you're the first woman that threatens to go running to her claiming something or another about me? You think you're some special snowflake and that you're the first woman that I've slept with?
My hands shake. I have to remind myself that I would get nothing out of hitting him. Well, I don't know. Nothing but satisfaction, at least.
Tell her. But who will she believe? Her darling husband? Or the hired help? Oh, Buttercup, she's probably trying to make us pay up or she'll create a scandal. Stay quiet, you can go on with your life with no trouble.
And if I talk? Even if your wife doesn't believe me, I can get people talking. What then?
Oh, people gossip all the time. It's hardly anything new. But still, if you talk, I will ruin you.
The way he says it, promises it, makes my blood run cold.
Now, why don't you run along and do whatever silly job you have to do? I'll just be here in the music room if you change your mind about a shag.
Fucking asshole. Fucking asshole.
Scum the earth he is. How could you just let him talk to you like that?
Okay, so forget about going into the music room then. That's fine. He'll have to go out there sooner or later. In the meantime, I can go around and check the rest of the house. All my worries fade when I step into the ballroom. And well, the whole place is just grand, isn't it? I can see why the Wrights made sure nobody else would take this place from them. Anyone who has it will certainly be the belle of the ball. It's pretty much one great big status symbol. I don't think I can do much thorough inspection in this room, so I note it down for later. Moving on to the kitchens. I checked the ventilation and the general fire safety in the kitchen. This bit is important for a place this size. I would, of course, suggest bringing an actual fire safety inspector over for a more detailed inspection. It wouldn't do to see such beautiful architecture go up in flames after all. I take measurements of the countertops and cabinets, note down what type of wood they use. They wanted some of these recreated to hide modern appliances. There's a loose floorboard in the farthest corner, and some of the others had scratches, but everything else seems to be in decent shape. My concentration is broken when someone knocks.
You can come in. Door's not locked.
I wait, expecting Mrs. Wright or their butler to come in, but nobody entered. No! Instead, here's the knocking again. It's louder and more urgent this time. I'm pretty sure I didn't lock the thing.
All right. I'm coming. Just hold on.
When I move to open the door, though, I realize something. The knocking isn't coming from the door, but from somewhere else. Oh, shit. Shite. The trap door? I pause for a second, waiting. But the knocking has not ceased. And soon enough it becomes desperate, the dull thuds from before switching to what seems to be scratching. Desperate and insistent at once, as if grasping for respite.
Is somebody stuck down there?
Oh, God! Hey, there's actually a shadow of a cat. Where did that come from? How did it even get down there? That put the heart crossway in me. It did. Oh my God. And then something else is gonna come out. Just wait. I love cats, but they have no business giving people a fright. For a second there, all those ghastly rumors about this place had come flooding back. Now, peering into the darkness of the open trapdoor gets me thinking, and it gets me curious. Seriously, though, I should really make sure there aren't any more surprises from down under. I don't think the Wrights would appreciate it if we find a litter of kittens making a house of the wine cellar. Mr. Wright seemed the type to skin a cat if any of his precious wines were to be contaminated. I'm done with the kitchens anyway. Oh God, no. Why are you down there? Going down a flight of stairs while wearing high heels is always a bad idea. Descending into the dark underground only made it worse, but I managed anyhow without any major slip-ups.
These stairs need work, that's for sure.
Surprisingly, the wine cellar is in good condition. No water damage from last year's flooding, and apart from the dust and cobwebs that have accumulated, the place will likely hold for several more years. Racks and barrels line the walls, making the spacious room look smaller than it is. I'm no expert, but it looks good enough for immediate use without any further additions. Bloody whiskey will be having a field day. I think so anyway, until I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Oh God, whatever few bottles were left behind here, and now nothing but glass under my heels. The cat's fault, I'd wager. And it made a downright mess, with red slick pooling from the remnants of a good drink. There's a lot of the stuff for to have just been a few bottles though. The whole trail of it flows from the end of the room, and I follow, fully expecting a leaking barrel or a whole upturned rack. Instead, it just keeps going on going, and it stops in a large puddle at the very back wall.
What a waste of wine. Why is it so sticky though? Ugh.
It's thick too, nothing like wine. Of course, it could just be mold.
Maybe it's not wine.
Oh my god, who are
Fine,
you?
Touch it. I dare ya.
Despite it all, I find myself answering. Because it's her voice. See, it's actually her friend from college. Amy Lorraine. Lovely Amy. Pretty Amy. I can imagine her standing there with me, laughing and pestering me as I did my work in the way only friends can. She was my friend. I'm the only one that had a Saint Samthon's. I was a scholar, the charity case, in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me, if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her. Sometimes I wish for the good old days when we were friends. Now she's nothing but a ghost. Though I try so hard to get over her. I really, really
What
do.
am I, 5 years old? Oh, damn it, it's stuck under my shoe.
I double dare you. Hell, I double dog dare you. Don't be such a scaredy cat. It's probably wine. What else could it be? Blood?
Blood.
Don't be ridiculous. Why would there be blood down here?
If I was the joking sort, I would have said it might be the reason why the previous owner sold the place. Maybe the ghost stories are actually true, and they wanted to get away from the walls that dripped of the ectoplasmic goo, or whatever the ghouls haunted about. Doubt it. I hardly believe in any of the voodoo nonsense as it is. But as I stare at the mess at my feet, probably looking like a fool while I'm at it, I notice something strange. It isn't visible unless one is really paying attention. But I can see the red guck seeping through a crack in the wall.
What's this then?
I worry about structural damage and damage to the foundation. I worry about the wine cellar, as the wrong conditions can lend to the deterioration of its contents if temperatures and humidity are not controlled. Up until I see how clean cut the crack is, it runs along the edge of the wall and vertically along it, where a door would be. Pressing my hand against the wall lends credence to the idea as I try to feel it, where it would give way.
Ooh! Could it be an adventure then? A secret passage? There must be a hidden switch somewhere. Go look! This is the most interesting thing you've done by far.
If there's a hidden room here, that could certainly explain the discrepancy in the mansion's floor plans. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that there could be hidden rooms and passageways all over the house if we were to follow that logic. And boy, isn't that exciting. This feels like something straight out of a game. Suddenly, she touches my arm and I flinch away in shock. That shouldn't be possible. I understand auditory hallucinations, maybe even visual hallucinations. But that was...
You look surprised. What's wrong?
You? That's not possible. You're...
dead.
Aren't you happy to see a dear old friend, though? I'm hurt, I am.
What the hell is going on here?
Oh, isn't it obvious? I've come back for you, so that we can be together again.
When she touches me once more, I recoil. What does she mean, together again? She's dead. She looks kind of like super mean right now.
No! Leave me alone!
Leave you alone? But I just got here.
Turning around, I'm met with the Wright's butler, who looks at me with an indifferent look. And when I look back, Lorraine is gone.
I wasn't talking to you, just thinking aloud is all.
You should really avoid talking to yourself, Kint. Do more of that and others will think you're insane.
Yes, thank you. Is that all you're here for, or has your master sent you running down here for something?
Oh, no, I am just down here to admire the place. I've not been inside before. I thought I would look around before we return to the city. The car is already running, you see, and I suggest you go back to the foyer, unless you wish to be left behind. It seems you are in good company already, after all, with this house and your imaginary friend.
Wait, we're leaving already? But I haven't finished inspecting the rest of the house.
Be that as it may, there's a sulking man-child up there who wishes to go home. We are all subject to his whims, lest he throw a tantrum.
I can't help but smile at that. He's a strange guy. I still can't imagine how he can work for a guy like Luke Wright, though. I imagine the blonde R's ain't an easy guy to get along with. Whatever the butler was having to tolerate that, I want 10 of it.
And we wouldn't want any soiled knickers or spilled milk. Why don't you go head on and I'll be right there.
Very well. Do be careful on your way back. I saw some broken glass on the way, and it will not do to cut yourself.
No, you go back together. Why is it that you like to be left
alone? Just tell Mr. Wright
alone?
not to blow a gasket or anything. I'll be just a minute.
No, speaking of blowing gaskets, there's something else dangerous here. Whatever is left behind that door, it could pose some problems. Best case scenario, it would only ruin good stocks of wine. But who knows what's behind that false wall? I'll have to come back to it. Whew. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's car and the stars above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars, and Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there. That curious thing in the wine cellar, which is stuff I've only read about from fucking horror stories. And her. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. You ain't that promiscuous. But she's from Ireland, I guess. That's why she thinks that way. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say that I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down, but for some obstinate reason I can't. In the same manner, I haven't let go of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curl around her forehead. It's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. And well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. At least not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anslem, I rode with them in silence. Marianne examined the ground floor upon arrival at the mansion, with Luke Wright barring her entry into the music room. She headed to the wine cellar. A ghost from her past visited her there. Despite that, she gave her word that she would see through the project until the end. But as soon as we hit the city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them good night. I thought it would be best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have, shouldn't have, won't. I assured them that my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive, as is sleep. I lie awake, hesitate, thinking of what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens. It makes me feel hollow. Oh God. For 2 nights I've had trouble sleeping. But it's only one morning when fatigue has already let me rest, that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. Oh no, in my restless dreams, I see that mirror. The one in the study, and in it I see her. I see them. What? Lorraine and Hannah? Hannah and Lorraine?
Oh, pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk among themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues, or rather, to themselves, 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were the one and the same.
What's the pity? Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distressed.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ear, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them, as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. Oh no, now they're looking at you. It is only when they take notice of my presence, eyes turn towards me, and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
Ah! My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie. We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr
matter when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. Jesus, stupid cat. She is the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at Her Majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. You had kicked that cat. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty?
Baruthiel.
Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
The content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always quite an affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want, after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party.
Black Cat Day? Is that really a thing?
But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. So maybe her friend was, you think it is? It is? Oh my god. So maybe her friend was interested in her and tried to touch her cat. And then she pushed her friend off of her, and then she fell off the window or something like that. Because she tried to deny her attraction. So, and that's why she feels guilty. So she's maybe she's bisexual. October 27th, National Black Cat Day. Wow. So, this day. Okay. The place is already busy as soon as I get there. Here, the foreman on one that have recommended to the Wrights for his work ethic is early as usual. Already he is instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful, and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
Dear Lord. She stops looking at the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out how to store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
It's a weird place to put it. Just put it outside or something. Oh god, the movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflection in the bloody thing. That's the mirror from my dream. As soon as they go into the kitchen, I realize I'm holding my breath. I let out a sigh of relief when I think nobody is looking, and I go back to the task at hand. It will be a terribly busy day, and there's no need for me to even think of anything else. I talk to the foreman, fill him in which room is which. It seems I'm doomed to not get any significant work done without being interrupted when it comes to these particular clients, however.
Marianne, dear, have you had breakfast yet? Well, I do believe it would be considered brunch at this hour.
Oh yes, Mrs. Wright.
You must join me. Johans has already been breaking in the kitchen, as they say. I do not see the others settling down for a meal anytime soon. Someone might as well enjoy the food while it's hot. And that someone might as well be us.
I should say no. I really must say no. But the way she smiles at me makes it difficult to do so. Look at how ridiculous I'm being, acting like a silly, nervous schoolgirl with a crush. It's just brunch, and who am I to say no to a client? It would be impolite to do so. It's not like I'm going to agree because of anything other than propriety. I'm not agreeing just because she battered her pretty eyelashes at me.
If you insist.
It really isn't any of those. But it's something about her eyes, rather. She looks like she needs a good talk. A friend. And although I'm not supposed to be chummy with the client, there's no harm in pretending, right? Of course, I've been wrong on many occasions before. Maybe there is plenty harm in pretending that I care. Because pretending I care might lead to actually caring. Being alone in the same room as the missus leaves me reeling as I find myself paying too much attention to her. It seems so borderline unhealthy how much I'm getting obsessed, even if it's just by looking. And it's the little insignificant things that I noticed, like the way she plays with her hair or how she smooths down her dress.
Hiya! Come on now!
Whiskey's annoying voice in the other room helps pull me back to the ground. I'm just looking, aren't I? I know that someone like her wouldn't even look at someone like me. Still, there's some time to turn around this bad decision.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright, but I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early, you must not have gotten a proper meal. Sit, sit! I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now.
Her concern is sweet, as is her smile. But I'm really not here for idle chit-chat, something I keep forgetting. We're both distracted when the food arrives, and it's enough for me to stay, at least until the meal is over. No more, nor less. Just be polite. Thankfully, the conversation steers into a topic I'm comfortable with, work. This goes on for a bit, and I can't be more relieved. Most people understand calling me a workaholic, but I choose to work in a field I'm enthusiastic about. So what if my career is also my hobby?
But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too. It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg. Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
Wait, doesn't she own the house? I'm pretty sure. I have no business with it though. It's theirs to hash out. But apparently the momentary confusion had been visible in my face.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury. I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yes, what else is there to it? Without warning, this nice friendly chat devolved into something horrible. Something sad.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright. We were talking of no topic in particular, and
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
about him not eating breakfast with you.
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
Despite my general dislike of the upper class, I sometimes feel pity for them. Don't. They got money. They can do anything they want in life. They may have all the money in the world where material things aren't a problem, but they don't even see what they've become, where they ended up, or what they've done most of the time. You know, that's just from a perspective of people without money. But the funny thing is, she got money. I mean, Marianne is not, you know, is not poor. She's very rich because she's taking care of super rich clients. So, you know, they always say money doesn't buy happiness, but it does. The only people who say money doesn't buy happiness are people without money. They're shut in by their own trap, forced to play along with society's expectations, and do anything to stay where they are and to keep what they have. A world where even people feel or are treated like they are more mere possessions. A world where even people feel or are treated like they're okay. When someone is at the top, the only way for them to go is down. I've worked with so many Hannahs and Lukes and Whiskeys, but I've never been one of them. But you kinda are. I don't pretend to understand their world any deeper than that. I merely know what I've witnessed before. She looks lost, speechless at how she betrayed herself. My pity for the likes of her returns. Nothing but pity moves me as I speak before she can say anything else that might ruin or break her.
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles. This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you, and whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand these sort of affairs. If anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined. All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
The way she practically begs me to keep quiet about it is disheartening. I have no plans of speaking about anything I hear, especially if it is about their private affairs. But the way she looks at me, the way she just expects some sort of fallout because of this, makes my heart clench. Make my butt clench.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It is not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
When the last of our food and drink is gone, the door opens as if on cue.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties. I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for the food as well.
She stands to up and leave, and all I want to do is to reassure her again, to prove that I am someone she can trust. So when she looks back my way, I didn't fight the smile that found its way on my face. I feel giddy, but the feeling dies down afterwards as I sober up. Well, back to work. Soon enough, I find myself drawn to the kitchen. Oh, God. Where the right butler has returned to. He's already claimed the space and telling movers to back off, and no one dares to question his proclamation either.
My kitchen. No kinder allowed. Little men running around with knives especially. We do not want any accidents to happen now, do we? Good? Good.
I mean, it is a knife-wielding German standing there. I don't think anybody would be insane enough to refuse his request.
I hope I meet the age restriction, or at least the height restriction, because I'm asking to be let in here.
You are allowed inside, McCulloch, but not the little ones.
A shake of my head and a roll of my eyes is all I give him. It's not like I'm going to be of any trouble to him. I just need to look around and get my bearings. The breakfast had been distraction enough. I don't even want to think about what we just talked about. I just need to get my head straight and get back to work. The movers work efficiently, even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes, standing in the doorway, to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then, but they pretty much have everything up to the standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. That's not good. Nevertheless, as all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are, preoccupy me.
If there are any left, one can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them, even my husband, and he's American.
Ooh la la! I really do hate getting so up and close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I heard and what I learned about the right couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person, thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up, and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder. It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on top of the list of things Marianne liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something, like a rolling pin.
What was with that reaction? Are you really scared? Has Johann's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Gurium?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with, since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must be something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johannes leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place being haunted is true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing, a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there would be such things such as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright. You haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but his eyes, I see something dangerous.
It depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
None that I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern they have to talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes though, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
I just freelance mostly for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least, if his small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous? Ask if he's alright.
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey? You're looking like you need a serious drink.
Well, documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on the scene, actually.
I'm fine. Just a bit winded from all that moving about. It's been a long day.
And the day's not over yet. So if you can excuse the bluntness, you either shape up to help or ship out back to your room and let us do the rest of the work.
He hesitates, eyes locked firmly on the door that led to the dining hall. Even now, we can still hear as Mrs. Wright and the photographer chit-chat in between shots.
It's not my place to say this, but she really does seem to care a lot about you, you know?
There's no need to remind me of that.
A strange smile appears on his face before he shuts his eyes and sighs.
Tell the workers that you're all dismissed early.
That's nice and all, Whiskey. But we really shouldn't just take off. Delays aren't a good thing when it comes to big projects like these. The sooner we tackle certain issues, the better.
And I trust you can take care of these issues another day. Don't make me ask again, Mint. Just tell the others they can go home early, and to not worry, they'll still get paid the remaining hours.
I don't know what prompted this. With the air he's putting on, though, I know better than to meddle and prod further. Besides,
Fine, you're the boss.
walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go well under his roof. Mrs. Wright and the photographer are still far too busy in conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I didn't want to ruin their fun.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colours. I suppose they would have liked Blue Bibby a lot more.
Going to the foyer has me stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises a brow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The Bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
I don't doubt it. My ride back to the city doesn't take too long to get there. To keep her mind off things that haunted her, Marianne McCulloch focused on assisting the Wrights during their move-in. Later that afternoon, she was seen chatting with Luke Wright, who then demanded she and the rest of her crew take an early leave. What was it I wanted to do? Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Amangard mansion is. He tried to have us hand over GPS coordinates and from our smartphones or some other techno babble I didn't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him it's that haunted mansion over in Anslem village, he knew just the place. And finally headed over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about that place giving him the willies. It gives me willies too. I would have loved to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms in the forefront of my mind. One that has somehow bothered me greatly, more than my exasperation over whiskey and this project, or wanting all of it to stop. There has been no Lorraine whispering over my ears today. Worse, I find myself searching for it. Searching for her. Damn new worthy loose ends. Fucking bloody loose ends everywhere. I thought I've already moved past this years ago, and it does nothing to help me curb my frustration. If anything, it only ensures that I want a stiff drink and a stiff dick. And where else do I go to drink? Uh-oh, karaoke again. Tuesdays are for karaoke. And Wednesdays, improv. Oh, this is improv day. Is this Wednesday? Yeah, it is. Okay. Usually it's these four guys who did hilarious games. The one with Irish drinking songs are almost a crowd favorite. Though I love a good laugh, stand-up comedy isn't my thing. Oh god. And without Cam or Haruna or any other distractions, I end up drinking a lot more this time. And when there's several bottles of beer in me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G! Come over here! I need you for something!
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fella. I'd probably have been kicked out of other places by now, or worse. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and a shake of his head, even when he's attending to other customers. Just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy, and I'm pretty sure I've seen him here a couple of times, although he never talks to anyone except G. The girls used to be all over him too, but he always turned them away.
I'll be here. You go do that before she falls over.
Asian Joe.
All right. What is it?
Bartender G is like Harvey Lee? Is it Harvey Lee, like pretending to be a bartender? No. Looks just like Harvey Lee. Because even the voice is the same. Harvey Lee. Oi, Hannah. Where's your husband?
Do you need someone to help you get home?
Bartender, pour the wine!
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
A whine comes from the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare hop over it for them. Because what little sense I have left knows I'd sooner take a floor dive than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head, just like I know he would, if we're going back to the other guy.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one to really chat with, I would have gone home or gone to sleep on the bar right there and then. But I'm not ready to stand up and try to trek back home just yet.
Same old, same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati. So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of dealing dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
Their talk would have interested me. Would have kept my attention if I give a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about things going on around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is the pub. And it would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned if didn't hear his name.
Luke Wright. You know the guy. And don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde that I was throwing round his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact. Great tipper, if you think him just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping. Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Luke fucking Wright. Fucking whiskey. Even without him around, I'm still hearing about the guy. What the absolute fuck. Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over to join them before I pipe up.
Is this smack talk about Luke fucking Wright I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
There's only amusement on G's face. The Asian guy, he starts to look ticked off as well. Ticked off as hell.
Don't worry, Holmes, she's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Course. A drunk's just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work. Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So, she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
Yoo-hoo! Still right here, fellas. 5'11". Can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here. What's with that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove. Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
To add insult to injury, I move directly behind him and use the top of his head as an armrest. But when he shakes me off, I plop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet. We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Ah, children, the both of ya. But you're still standing after all that, are ya? Man, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been drinking like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me. Good with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, aren't you? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes. Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright, right?
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you. Even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
Well, I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You won't mind if we ask the beer a few questions then?
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. How dare that sleazy wanker treat me like I'm a piece of furniture?
And by wanker, you mean Luke Wright.
Yes, Luke Wright. I just said that. He's Kultona Kranze. Completely different from his pretty wife. And Annie? Hannah? Anna! I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing something dirty behind her back. Even bought him a mansion. Lucky bastard.
So it was the wife who bought the place.
Are you going to repeat everything I say? Yes, it was the pretty one. The one with the long hair. She bought the place. Sort of.
With how drunk you are, I don't even know if you're aware or sure of what you're saying.
Excuse you? I am at least 350,000% sure that I know what I am saying. I am a professional. I'm totally sure of what I'm saying. Do you think just because I'm drunk I don't remember facts? I remember everything. I remember every little thing as if it only happened yesterday. I bet you don't remember young McGurn's full name. Of course you don't. Here we go. John William, Kermad, Mental Inte, Yoda Body, Simpson Clay, Gimel Chip, The Bam, Rib Racker, No Real, Young Rebel, Yabastain, John McGurn. See? I have a photographic memory. Or read memory. I don't remember which is which.
Back to the wanker. Nothing off about him or anything? Nothing shady that sets the alarm bells in your head?
Alarm bells? Nothing ringing. Maybe someone's mobile is. I'm getting tired. Enough for me to press my cheek against the cool countertop with my eyes shut tight. Eventually, cracking one eye open, just in case they thought I fell asleep, I grinned at Holmes.
Aside from being a sleazy piece of shit, he did get all in a tizzy whenever something about security came up.
Makes sense. I don't blame the guy. A place that big, you'll need a couple dozen people stationed around if you want to make sure nobody you don't want gets in. And the guy seems like the type that doesn't like too many people.
Oh, but he does like the ladies. I don't think his mommy hugged him enough or anything.
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This will be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me. Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
A wave of despair that comes over the booth. The booth? Come over the both of them is palpable. If feelings had a taste, it'd be bitterer than the beer I'm full of. And it gets me thinking, though thinking doesn't get me far with too much shite in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As ocht day! No wonder Mr. Wright likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling ya. Explains why she's so reluctant.
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Before I get another word out, there's hands on my shoulders and everything starts to spin. I quickly slap his hands away, the best I can, and send him the foulest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me up-chucking on your pretty hair. But it's just like I said. Are you sure you aren't brain damaged or deaf? Santos girl from BRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. And we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey, that's Luke fucking right, you get me. And the missus didn't look too happy either. I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere. When rich snobs give you that face, no wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I? Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale. Paler than before, at least. I can see the gears turning in his head on overtime. Suddenly, he shoves a card in my hand. He works with the police. Can you believe it? Ashton Frey, Detective Inspector. On it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. But he has second thoughts as he grabs it from me and slips it into my pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Right, 999. Good. Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
The guy is quick on his feet, already up and at him. As soon as the numbers leave his lips. He looks so cute, Harvey. Wait, where is it? Oh. The interior designer once again drank her frustrations away at the crawl bar. Albeit heavily intoxicated, she was seen chatting with Ashton Frey, a detective inspector working for the LPD, about Luke Wright before abruptly leaving. The detective left her his calling card. Oh! 7 o'clock. So I guess this is a good time for me to stop. Watching him as he maneuvers through the crowd of other pub goers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's at the door and throws us a smile. And that's all we get before he's gone. Just like that.
Oi, what about your drink, boy? I'm gonna put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
Swimming in cocktails, mumbling a sleepy thanks, I doze off on the spot, face pressed on the counter. Already I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such a position. But when you gotta go, you gotta go. I knew it.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. Oh, nothing crazy. Do people ever have the feeling that they're working on something they really enjoy, but still it eventually tires them out? Because honestly, I've been feeling like this.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Alright, so I'm going to stop here. Thanks for being here, Leon. I will be back tomorrow. I like Marianne's part of the story. I think she killed her friend, but I guess we'll know tomorrow, hopefully. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.